social media, family, friends, and acquaintances. Today is 14 April 24, and I'm actually on my way home from a 3-day weekend at drill. And it's been a little while since I continued my series, His Story, Your Story. What I want to do today is focus on part 2 of chapter 2, where I talk about around 2 years old until about kindergarten. My mom, my brother, and I mainly lived with my grandma, and we lived with in different towns at different times, but we always ended up back at my grandma's house and primarily lived there most of the time, and lived in a little town called Sigel, Illinois, and we lived right outside the township boundaries. And I consider my grandmother a saint, Loretta Young. She raised 9 kids, and toughest woman I've ever known. She hardest working woman I ever know. I remember her burning brush on a 100-degree day in the summer. Remember she'd make homemade ice cream. I remember she would do laundry by hand in the sink and then press it out on the back porch. And I remember her jarring vegetables from the gardens and putting them down in the cellar. And I also remember my uncle Raymond, who had a big impact on my life. He was a Vietnam veteran, and I just remember he'd come home and would always brag about how he could climb to the top of a tree, and he would show off by climbing to the top of the trees. And he worked at a sawmill. And then I remember my mom always doing her very best and trying to raise my brother and me. Why do I bring them up? Well, I bring them up because there's one day where Jesus is teaching and his family thinks that he's out of his mind, and they basically tell him he needs to come home. And the religious teachers of Jesus' day are saying basically, what are you going to do here, Jesus? Your family is confronting you. And the religious teachers confront him of being demonically possessed. And in this context, Jesus basically talks about how can a kingdom be divided against itself? How can Satan drive out Satan? And then towards the end, and this is what I want to focus on, Jesus talks about whoever does the will of God are my brothers and my sisters. And for me today, I think a lot of times kids will gravitate to whoever they're loved by. And for me, I always tell people unashamedly, unapologetically, that I was raised by my grandma, my uncle, and my mom. And then I've always just felt this special kind of love from the different churches I've either been a part of or have served in. So I consider my family not only biological family, but also my church family. And I think that's the thing that we got to remember, is that at the end of the day, we want to be loved. And for us to truly be loved, we have to first accept God's love, that God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. And how can we love ourselves if we don't first accept the love of God? And then how can we learn to love people, love our neighbor, if we first don't love ourselves? And for me, I'm very thankful that I was raised. I wouldn't change anything. I was very, and sometimes it's very painful, but I'm very thankful that I was raised by my grandma, my uncle, and my mom. So this concludes His Story, Your Story, Chapter 2, Part 2. We'll see you on the flip side. I don't know when I'll do the next one. I just like to do these whenever I feel like God and the Holy Spirit put something upon my heart. So next time, peace.